Hey guys, it's Anthony with the Rag Company and welcome to a highly requested detailing video. In today's video, we're going to be showing you how to remove hard water spots from the glass on your vehicle. Alright guys, so this was a highly requested video after our previous hard water spot removal on my fiance's old Hyundai Elantra. She just happened to pick up a new 4Runner that came pre-installed with hard water spots from the dealership. And I'm starting to think that the hard water is beginning to follow her throughout all of her vehicles in life, and yeah, not fun. But today we're going to show you how to handle that and the different methods that we can use to tackle the hard water spots on the glass, because these are stubborn and these are definitely stuck on there. So let's go ahead and start with method number one. All right, really quick, I want to give you guys a quick look at the hard water before we begin, just so you guys know how bad this actually is. So fortunately, it was only on the passenger side. I think when this car was parked at the lot, it was just right near a sprinkler on some type of island and just got absolutely blasted with hard water. Now the dealership did offer to remove the water spots for me, but I think I could do a little bit better than what they would do, and I want to be a little bit more careful about this, especially with it being on the glass. We cannot use the same wheel acid method that we used on the paint in the previous video on glass, because it will burn the glass and we do not want to do that. Therefore, we're going to go for more of the abrasive techniques and go through with compound polishing, using machine by hand, and then break out some steel wool for the corner work. But let's go ahead and take a look at how bad this is. So you can see that the minerals from that hard water, the calcium, magnesium, has really built up on not only the window, but the trim itself. And the trim is kind of a pain. You would actually have to use some type of conditioner or something like that to remove that. You can also take a light polish to try to help make it better. But with this being a flat trim, we don't really want to shine that up too much, if that makes sense. But focusing more on the window here, if you guys can listen to this, you can hear all of that mineral buildup concentrated in this corner. Now my thoughts are all that water was hitting this on the side from the sprinklers, falling down to right here, and literally just sitting here for days on end until it dried and then hardened up, leaving that mineral deposit behind. So we have this window to work with. We also have this passenger window here on the rear to work with as well, which isn't as bad, but I want to show you where it is bad. Here on this small window is extremely bad. So this, you can hear how bad that buildup is. It is really, really on there. So in an area like this, I can show you what we can do for the more intricate, small areas in the cracks and corners and whatnot. So hopefully it gives you a good idea. So we're gonna start with method number one, which is a clay bar or clay mitt and a little bit of ONR as a lubricant to see if we can knock down some of those hard water minerals and see if we can improve upon this look. I don't have high hopes for it, but again, we have extremely hard water here in Idaho. So maybe if your water is softer where you live, the clay could help you out and could remove some of those. But let's go ahead and give it a try and see what happens. All right guys, so method number one, trying out the clay mitt to see how well this is going to work on this. So I have the Optimum Ultra Clay Mitt, and I have some ONR and my IK multi-sprayer at 128:1. We're gonna spray our window down. I left some fingerprints on that thing. Can you guys see that? All right, let's get rid of those. All right, so spray the window down, get plenty of lubrication on the surface, and we are just going to begin scrubbing. You can hear something happening. I don't know if it's a good thing, but, oh, can you guys hear that? Oh, that's rough. That's rough indeed. I can't say it's doing too much at this time. This clay is a finer grade clay, so you could use a harder clay if you wanted to. But at this point, I'm not seeing any improvement. So let's go ahead, dry this off, and then take another look. All right guys, so I got the goofy camera back on my head so you can see what I see. So we just attempted the clay mitt method over here on this side, and we didn't see a whole lot of results. I decided to tape this off so you guys can see the difference between the different methods, just like we did in the last video. So we'll have clay right here, and then next up we are going to use some compound and a microfiber towel by hand. Now one thing I want to point out is that some compounds can stain your trim. So if you're going to do this method with a compound of your choice, you may want to go ahead and tape off that trim depending how close you're working to it. The last cut doesn't stain trim, so I feel confident in using this without having to tape. But in my other hand here, I have an edgeless 365 microfiber towel. So I'm just going to simply blot a little bit onto this towel here. Don't need a whole lot, just need a little bit. And I'm gonna focus on this top corner if you guys can see that. So I'm just gonna add a couple little blots of compound and begin working it in. I'm gonna be applying a decent amount of pressure here. Not enough to obviously break anything, but enough to do some work. And so you can go up and down, side to side, left to right. You can Mr. Miyagi it and go in circles, whatever you wanna do. But I can already tell you that this is starting to work. All right, so putting a little bit more here, we're gonna continue to work this area, but I am starting to see some good results. Now the only downside about working it by hand is you are gonna get a little tired from doing this because you are putting a decent amount of arm pressure in here, but it's working. All right, so I've been working this for about a minute so far, so let's go ahead, flip to a clean side of the towel, buff it off, and see what our results are. Not bad. Not bad at all. So you can see this area is now cleared of those hard water spots. So that was pretty nice. It was a decent amount of work, but it did work out perfect. I cannot see any etchings or any spots left over, so I know that that compound removed the entire thing. I probably could have focused a little bit more on this trim work around here, and then obviously worked my way up, but we're saving this for a little bit later. So that should hopefully give you guys a good idea on what you can accomplish by hand with a little bit of compound. So we just finished hand compounding here on this side of the window, and we had pretty good results. A little bit of work, but it worked out just fine, and if I had to do that, I absolutely would. But really quick, before we move into machine compounding, polishing, I do want to talk about products that are meant to be used to remove hard water spots from glass and paint. Some of them work great, some of them work okay. It really depends. There's a few different products out there that different brands make that have mixed reviews. I know the water here is extremely hard, and I have used Optimum MDR before on the previous video with not the best results, but I want to try it again to see if we're gonna have any better results on this glass here. So I'm gonna take my MDR on this side of the glass. I'm going to apply a little product here to my edgeless 365. Don't need a whole lot, so that'll probably do this whole side here. I'm gonna blot this in and then begin working it in. Now I am applying some pressure here, but again, this is a non-acid based product, so it's not going to stain your glass or burn your glass, but you do need to rinse it off with Optimum No Rinse after you're done, just to prevent any of this residue from sticking around for too long. So I'm gonna continue to work this in for a little longer than I did in the last video. So I've been working it for a couple minutes now. It's starting to dry out a little bit, so I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of O&R on my towel just to re-wet this area and give myself a little bit more working time. And I am scrubbing pretty hard for anybody curious. I'm putting in, I would say, a little bit more elbow grease into this method than I was with the compound. So hopefully we'll have some okay results. All right, so it's been sitting on here. It's time to finally wipe this off. So I'm gonna spray some O&R on my towel, spray some onto the surface, and remove what's left of that MDR. The glass does feel a lot smoother, I will say that. It's not having that contaminated sound like it was before. So we just finished with the MDR, and taking a look at the glass, it doesn't look a whole lot better, to be honest. There's still water spots all over here, and you can still see the minerals and the etchings. It just doesn't look great. Now, with that said, I will say that the glass does feel a lot smoother than it did before, so that's a plus. But for the amount of time I spent working here, I could have knocked that window and that window out with compound by hand and, of course, had better results. So we just wanted to try that out. There are products that are meant for removing hard water spots. Depending on where you live, if your water is obviously softer than ours, this may be the answer to your problem. But in our case, I'm afraid not. So we're gonna machine here on this side, grab a LHR 75 Mini with a yellow pad, the last cut compound, knock out this window. So with our polisher in hand and our compound in hand, this method is the end-all-be-all method. This is what I know is going to work. I've done this countless times on windows, so I know I'm going to have good results. So I only need a yellow pad for this, and I only need the last cut compound with, well, a machine, of course, is gonna help. So a 3-inch machine is ideal. You can use a Rupes 75 like I have here. You can also use a Harbor Freight, a Porter cable, anything with a 3-inch backing plate would work awesome on the window. So putting a couple drops of our compound here, and we are good to go. So I'm gonna be working on a speed setting of 3 and working this entire section of the window, not crossing over this tape line here. So we just finished up compounding with the machine. Time to wipe this thing off and see what our results are. I suspect they're going to be exactly what we're looking for. Oh yeah. No more spots. That looks awesome, guys. That looks like the clean glass that we all deserve. All right, so as good and as perfect as this glass looks, I do want to point out one quick thing. So because of the machine and because of the pad, you can't really get up into these corners super well. Now, if I had the iBrid Nano from Rupes, I could really work those corners, but with a 3-inch machine, you'll kind of leave a lot of these unhit. Hence why we're going to jump into our next method that I'm going to show you on this panel right here that you would use on all the corners and outside edges of the glass. So let's grab it. So we're on to the last method here. After compounding this window, we still have to worry about the edge work in these corners to get into. So this little ball here I have is quadruple-aught steel wool. Now this steel wool, being quadruple-aught, is going to be safe for the glass without scratching it or causing any problems, as long as we take a few precautions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to moisten this little ball of metal here, as some could say, and get just a little bit of wetness into it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some compound in it. So basically the compound is going to work as a lubricant, but it's also going to give me a little bit more cut around these corners. I'm going to be using this corner piece of glass as my example so you guys can really see what this can do. So put a little bit of our compound onto our steel wool. And if you want, you can work it in. You can kind of fold it over and get it to where the compound is really in there. You can take your finger and you can kind of rub it around if you want to do it that way as well. But basically, we just need that compound as some lubrication and to give us some extra cut. So with that on there, I'm going to focus on this piece of glass right here. And I'm just going to begin scrubbing. Now, I don't have to scrub super hard because we are going to get substantial more cut with this method than we would normally have. So I am just doing some light scrubbing action here. And I'm going to go ahead and knock out most of this window and get up into the corners. All right, so it's getting a little wet here, so I'm going to wipe it down. Now, whatever towel you use to wipe down, whatever you're using with steel wool, you probably want to toss it because you can see there is some bits of steel wool in this towel, and I don't want that getting mixed up with my other microfibers. So give it a quick wipe down. So we are doing some work here. I am seeing some progress, but I'm going to put a little bit more compound in here and keep working it, but that's looking exactly how I want it to look. All right, guys, so just going to working it in. So now it's time to wipe it off to see what our results are. Spray my towel down with some O&R, spray that down with a little bit of O&R as well, and then begin our cleanup here. Start with my outside edges, just kind of box it in, flip the towel, work it up into these corners, come back for the middle. I can tell you right now, that looks awesome. That looks really, really good. I did exactly what we wanted it to do. All right, just finishing up our wipe down here with a twist towel to give us a nice streak-free finish. Guys, that worked awesome. That looks so much better. I mean, I quite literally can't see one water spot now, and that steel wool was the perfect tool to be able to work into the corners here and really box it in to where I don't have any of those remaining water spots on the outside edges. So hopefully that changes your mind about how useful steel wool can be. All right, everyone, so that is going to wrap up how to remove hard water spots Glass Edition. If you haven't seen the video that we did on car paint, you can check it out in the description below. Now, if you were to ask me my favorite method of how to remove hard water spots from glass, to be honest, I probably would use a polisher first to do all of my major work and knock down the bigger areas, and then I would follow up with steel wool and compound to go around my surrounding corners and edges to clean it up and call it a day. But overall, I hope this video was helpful. That is a few different methods on hard water spot removal for glass. If you know of any others, leave them down in the comments below to help others watching this video. If you guys like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe down below for more, and stay tuned for more videos right here at The Rag Company.